Hello, everyone. Brian Smith bringing you another edition of the Daily Night. With UCF off this week, I've just been featuring high school football Friday, Saturday, and tomorrow I'll do a little bit more as well. I went to the game last night between Jacksonville Trinity Christian at Lake City, Columbia, up here in North Florida. It's in the Panhandle. And quite frankly, it was a lot of fun to just see all the athletes firsthand. It's one thing to see them on tape, on Huddle, on YouTube, etc. It's a different thing to stand next to them, to watch them throw, to watch them catch, to watch them block. And last night was a great opportunity for me because some of the kids I hadn't seen before or I'd just seen a little bit of. A few of the players on both sides were new to the rosters. They were younger kids, and I'll get into that. But I just want to kind of go through it from one side to the other. I'm going to start with Trinity Christian, then I'm going to move over to Lake City, Columbia. Before I do that, though, a special shout out to Coach Dormany from Trinity Christian. Last week, he gained his 300th victory. That's a lot in high school football. For those of you who don't know, he is one of the absolute best guys you're going to meet and just a great football coach. So congrats to him. And also a very big thanks to the Lake City Columbia football staff and their entire program, the principal, everybody. They were great. I was around the program, the community, and I'm going to have a story out on Sunday regarding the entire community and what it means to be a Lake City Tiger. So check that out tomorrow. For today, though, let's start off with TC. Want to get one thing out of the way. A lot of people want to know about Colin Hurley. He's the freshman quarterback for TC. That's right, freshman. He's got several offers already. He's a kid, this is what I'm going to do, homeschooled, and after he gets done homework, he works on quarterback. He looked like a kid in terms of how he played, his body language, totally different than what you would expect for a young man that is 15 years old. He's more physically developed. He's a strong kid and all that. You can tell he's lifted some weights and stuff. But he's just very easygoing and relaxed. He didn't have any moments in the game where I felt like, well, this is too big for him. This isn't going to work. He didn't care if he was handing it off. He didn't care if he was throwing short. He ad-libbed a few times and threw the ball over the top. He looked comfortable. Now, he did make one huge mistake at the end of the first half, and he threw a pick six because he waited too long and he got flushed out of the pocket. At 15, you're probably going to have a few of those. Lake City, Columbia has got a lot of athletes on defense that were certainly chasing him around. But overall, his accuracy and his ability to throw the ball on time was far better than most guys that I get to see in the Deep South as juniors and seniors that are Power 5 SEC guys. His on-time rhythm is very, very unique for his age, and I've quite frankly never seen it actually in pads. 7-on-7 is one thing. Doing it when somebody's trying to knock you down is quite another. So I'm going to do something a little more on Colin later this year, just do a feature on him. I want to see some more games, and I'll pull it up. But just want to mention him from now. He's going to be a national recruit, and he basically already is. So with that, the player that I was most impressed with overall for TC probably wouldn't surprise those around the Jacksonville area, but he's been banged up. Oklahoma commitment, Treyaun Webb. This young man has the ability to churn out yards between the tackles. He can catch the ball. And most importantly, he is just what I would call a natural running back. He is as good a fit for the Oklahoma offense as one could really hope to find if you're an Oklahoma fan. Natural forward lean, high and tight, good technique, holding the football as he runs. Has the ability to accelerate out of a cut. It's not just one of those straight line guys. When he's shaking somebody, he can still plant his foot and go north-south right now. He also has the ability to knock somebody down. There was a 4th-and-1 play. They ran to the left. I believe he was in Wildcat. And I don't remember the player or whatever. It's not that important. But he just kept his pads lower than the defender and flat out ran over him. If you do not wrap him up, he will make you a highlight reel. That's as simple as it gets. Treyan does not care. He's a physical football player. Before he's a running back, Treyaun Webb is a football player. That's why he had offers from schools across the country. All the schools down south, he was committed to Georgia at one point, Georgia, Florida, and everybody up north. I think Ohio State, Notre Dame both offered him. He's committed to Oklahoma. There's a reason that he had those offers. They were verified last night. And this young man's just a good kid. To talk to him a little bit, he's the kind of guy you want around your program. So to me, he's a national recruit for a reason. He solidified that. There's no question. He's a national top 100 player for the class of 23. That's right. He's not a senior. Treyan is a junior. So keep that in mind. Number two, with this group that they had, there was a lot of skill guys, but the one I hadn't seen in person was Cam Miller. He'd transferred in for his senior year. He is a Penn State commitment. He can play receiver or corner. And because there's so many teams that need corners, I'll be surprised if Coach Franklin does not play him at corner. But at the same time, we'll have to see. I think that there's a lot of opportunities for him to get the ball in special teams, which is what TC did. He's so shifty once he gets the ball and can change his speed midline or out of a stop and start, very twitchy. I can see why teams like him, and he had so many offers. I wasn't sure because he played at a program that's not very good before coming to TC, and now he's a kid that has the opportunity to kind of be on a center stage, if you will, playing against good players. And while the defensive front is completely overwhelmed Columbia High School, he did a pretty good job with the limited time he needed to cover. And Lake City, Columbia has serious skill talent. Peterson and Tolliver in particular, they're both Power 5 guys in my eyes, and I'll talk about them in a second. His back pedal is very natural. His ability to change direction is very fluid. And he just looked like a DB in the way he carried himself. There's a different attitude to playing corner. Cam Miller has that. The other part with Cam Miller is, again, like with the quarterback, he's just, this is what I do. He looked like a guy that wanted to be there. He didn't need anything extra. You didn't have to motivate. This is what I do. I think he'll have a chance to contribute early at Penn State because attitude is so much a part of playing corner, especially at the Big Ten level. There are teams in that league that have receivers, especially Ohio State, that if you mess around, it's 6. So he'll have a chance to play early for the Penn State Nittany Lions. A few of the other guys that I watched that had good games, and maybe the one that had the best are going to come up here, but just kind of want to mention them overall. Fred Highsmith, he's the next guy I want to talk about, a receiver. Not a lot of people know about him. He can play. Obviously Webb, but Darnell Rogers, the other running back, he actually started the game. He's a young man that is going to play physical. He's going to play college football for somebody. If you're looking for a young running back, that's a guy you need to check out. There's also a few other players. They've got several linemen that are underclassmen that are big kids. I don't think that they're quite where they need to be yet. But like with Darnell Rogers, Rogers is a sophomore. The sophomore class at TC is very, very good. And they have size on both sides of the line. We're talking 280 and up. They have big guys. We'll see how tall they get, how good a shape they get in, et cetera. So kind of an overall thing there before I forget. The player that I didn't really feature was Keaton Thomas. He's a really good linebacker. They were overwhelming Columbia so much. They have a very young offensive line that I didn't even worry about him. He he's one of those guys that can play. There isn't anything athletically that front seven can't do. They're just kind of young. Some of the guys aren't necessarily on the radar yet the way they probably want to be for TC. But Keaton's one of those guys that can run, and there's a reason he has a bunch of offers. He's got like 20, give or take. So the other player that I do want to talk about, though, is Fred Highsmith. This is a receiver. I don't think he has that many offers yet. I'm not clear on his entire recruitment, but he had a couple of touchdowns, one of which was their first of the game, and he got smoked on the play. It was a ball right in front of me, and he got hit but came down with it in a pile. I mean, he got hit hard. Seeing that kind of catch and seeing the concentration that you want the football more than the other guy means something. He's quick. He's got fast hands to get up and all that. But when you know you're going to get smacked and you still bring in the football, that means something too. So hats off to him. The other one that he had, it was against Amare, and I'll bring up Amare in just a minute. He caught a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone on a fade ball, and Colin Hurley just just dropped it right in. But still, it was a one-handed catch in the end zone. Over the shoulder, just last second reached up and made the catch, made it natural. And quite frankly, it was impressive. There's a reason that young man was getting passes. Hurley's not going to waste his time throwing in the ball if he can't make special plays. And they went to him quite a bit. So this is a young man, I think his recruiting stock needs to go up a little bit. He has that ability. After that, just again, anybody that's recruiting TC or going to stop by there as far as college coaches, y'all need to check on the linemen. I don't pay attention during live games to one like it's just too much mumbo jumbo. I want to see practice and things like that with the linemen. It's just really hard in a game because you can't see vertically. Moving over to TC's overall team, the one thing I do want to say before going to Lake City, they have team speed. If you want speed, they have it. So the best thing to say about Lake City, Columbia, besides the skill talent, is just that they really want to play. Anybody recruiting that program, I can't say there's any way to really look at it other than these are going to be kids that are dedicated. I was around the program all day, and I was around a lot of the coaches, the players, the administrators. That community really wants to see things go well. From the local community center to the restaurants that I went to. I went to Shirley's in the morning, and I went to see Miss Quasia in the afternoon at the Country Corner. Everybody, you see Lake City, Columbia shirts all over the place. The town is just into it. That's the kind of thing, if I'm coaching, that I want to start with that before I even get into the players. As for the prospects in hand, Marcus Peterson gets the most attention. He's the senior receiver committed to the Cincinnati Bearcats. Really good football player. Unfortunately for him last night, being a receiver, it's hard to do anything when there's no time. The offensive line was just bludgeoned last night by TC's front seven. That's just reality. Tell it like it is. They had a very bad night. He didn't get a chance to do much beyond like catching a screen. They would, a look pass, just hike and throw it to him and let Marcus be Marcus. And that's fine. But he had 0 catches down the field, none. They just didn't have time. They probably had 10 sacks or close to it. I believe they had 4 in a row at one point. So I didn't get to see Marcus be Marcus. The other thing with them is they have another receiver that's not getting the respect he deserves, and that's Tolliver. And he probably had a better game because he got to be a return guy that wasn't involved with the offensive line. He is incredible in space. If you need a return man and a slot receiver and you don't recruit Tolliver, that's on you. He can make guys miss. He's a junior. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he is incredibly quick, even by Florida standards. And in this state is known for the twitchy slot receiver. Tolliver is your guy. Good kid too. So we'll see what he can do moving forward. I'd like him to be a little bigger. He's about $170, but he can run. And he made so many guys miss last night. I lost track. He is a Power 5 player. The next guy that everybody knows about, and he's got a bunch of offers, is Jaden Robinson, the linebacker. The way Lake City uses their defense to utilize his skills, I like. Sometimes he kind of comes off the edge. Sometimes he just sets the edge and he's not super aggressive. They do different things with him, but he uses his hands well and keeps guys down and away from his ankles and his knees. And then he's just limber. There's a reason he has offers from several SEC programs, Notre Dame, and some schools outside the South. He's just an athlete. Now he's 6'1", 210, something like that. I don't know which spot he'll play. He could end up at middle linebacker at a school that just wants to go speed. Like if he went to UCF, they could play him at middle linebacker or will. It'd be fine. That's their scheme. Maybe some other schools, like if he went to Wisconsin that runs the traditional 3-4 with a really big inside linebacker, they might play him at outside linebacker, just as an example. But he's athletic enough that it doesn't really matter. And he's a hitter. When he hits somebody, man, it's a thud. There were 2 or 3 plays last night where he hit a kid, and it was a thud. It's a little different when he goes through somebody. That stood out to me the most. The other thing about him is I like how well he plays in space. Sometimes you have to make up for the deficiencies of the play and or the players around you because somebody's made a mistake or the play call just didn't work out. His speed allows him to get to the ball carrier or the receiver, even though he's not necessarily next to him. Once that player kind of separates from where he originally started, he might be 15 yards away. Just watching his closing speed, even if he was not the guy that ended up making the tackle, just watching him is also very good. He has the ability to play at any level of college football in a 3rd and 6 situation. And this is what linebackers are basically graded on by college coaches. Can you play on 3rd and 6? I don't want to be substituting because sometimes I cannot because the other team is in a no huddle situation. If you're in no huddle, you don't have the opportunity to necessarily bring a linebacker in, especially with the last play ended on the other sideline. Guys can't get it on and off. Jaden can play on 3 downs. That's why I think he's a national recruit and his stock should go up. If he lived where I do in Tampa, Jaden would probably have 30 offers already. He's got quite a few, but being in Lake City, a little more remote, it's an hour from Jacksonville, something like that, just to the west of Jacksonville. He doesn't get as many offers. Probably should. But he's still a junior, so we'll see. But he can play for any school. The other kid that's really unique to me is a cornerback / athlete / free safety / strong safety. If you look at all the different players that are at Lake City, Columbia, maybe the hardest one to define is Amare Ferrell because it's hard to find big corners, and he plays that for them. But he told me before the game, I'll play some free and some strong, but mostly I'll play corner. Well, that tells me the coaching staff trusts him to understand what's going on. That's one. More importantly, it tells me he's confident in himself to do that. Some guys just want to play one spot. This is what I do. He just wants to help the team. He was communicating with the sideline during the game. He was trying to make sure guys knew where they were supposed to line up, etc. He's a leader. And at a young age, he's a junior, just like Jaden, just like Tolliver. That's a really unique football player. I don't know where he's going to play long term. He got beat once for a touchdown, but he also had a pick 6, and he should have had a second one. And I'm sure he's still kicking himself for it. He had one that Hurley tried to drop over, and he's just such an athlete. He got his hands on it. He should have picked it. But this is a guy that can play anywhere. I just don't know which spot. He told me before the game that his favorite position, if he had to pick one, was nickel corner. No guy ever tells me that. It's the hardest position to play on defense by a landslide at the college level because on one play you get a big tight end, on the next one you get a guy kind of like his teammate, Tolliver, who's just a jitterbug. You don't know where guys are going to line up. Even if they're in 22 personnel, you might have a running back come out and be in the slot. So it's difficult, and he likes that challenge. That tells me that he's a football player first. And again, kind of like talking about Cam Miller from TC, he has a different type of swagger to him. That is very important because if you're going to play defense, you're going to give up big plays, especially if you're a DB. I don't care how good you are. Even if Dion played in this era, Deion Sanders would get beat sometimes. He would get mossed or whatever every now and then. It just happens. There's really good athletes. Tolliver is a big guy, 6'1", 195, somewhere in that range. You don't find corners that big. He's not a true burner per se, but he uses his hands really well at the line, and he enjoys man coverage. When you do those things, it gives yourself a chance. And he's also a willing tackler. So I think he has a chance to play corner, especially boundary. I think he would be most likely to be a boundary guy because he's physical, he's bigger. But he could transition and be your free safety on 1st and 10. And then on 3rd and 4, if you're worried about short passes, maybe you bring him up to be a nickel. Again, like Jaden, Farrell is a national recruit in my eyes. I knew he was really good, and I'd seen him play before, but last night solidified it. Gets beat early for a touchdown, didn't bother him. Gets a pick 6 right before half to change the game because the game would have been over if they'd have scored there. He turned it around. And then in the second half, he played even better than he did in the first half. That's a good football player. He stayed focused even though the team wasn't performing up to their normal standards. That is hard to get a young man to do. So I'm very impressed with Amare Ferrell. The last guy I want to talk about is the first guy that I spoke with prior to the game. I told Coach Bell before the game, give me somebody that you think is going to represent the program at a very high level, is going to speak well on camera, and is somebody that you would just like to have talk about Columbia football. He picked Adion Farmer. He's a defensive end that's a senior. He's going to be an outside rusher. I don't know if he can play at the Power 5 level or not, but he's got big feet. He's got like size 14 shoes. Really well-spoken, very respectful, very intelligent. and he could rush the passer. He was a guy that was always pressuring the pocket. Not the biggest guy again, but he's 6'1", something like that, 200 to 210 pounds. And he's just a fun kid to watch play football. I enjoyed him from the perspective that every play, I just go hard. If he got beat, and I just kept watching him and watching him, next play, effort. When players play with that much effort and they have that much natural quickness and they've got the genetics, he's got the big feet, he's going to fill out. There's a place for him to play college football. Where at exactly, I don't know. I need to see more of him. But Adion Farmer is a kid that college coaches need to inquire about at Lake City, Columbia. Again, I was very impressed with his demeanor first and foremost. And believe me, I meet a lot of kids that have more physical skill than him, but I can't stand even being around them because they're just jerks. This kid is the polar opposite. He's who you want in your locker room. And we all know how important the word culture is in sport. Football is no different. If you can't have an Adeon Farmer in your locker room, you need to reevaluate what you're doing in your college football program. That's first. But how you utilize him depends on your scheme. I think he would be best in a 3-4 defense or a hybrid 3-3-5, something like that, where he could move around. But again, this is my first time really looking at him. But he's athletic, great kid, represents the program well, and he's going to do well for somebody at the college level. Before I wrap up, as I stated a little bit ago, I'm going to be doing some stuff regarding the Lake City Columbia program overall. I'll be back up here at some point later this fall, but I'm going to do special on Sunday about the town and how it rallies around. And I wish more programs were like this in terms of the community and the involvement around Florida. It's not as good as it should be. In Georgia and in Texas and in Alabama and some other states, it's definitely a stronger unit. That being stated, Lake City, Columbia, I just want to give another thanks to everybody involved, their coaching staff. Coach Bell showed me around. We went and we ate and we had a great time. Dimitri Jackson is a great guy, the head coach. They're lucky to have him. He came over from Fort White. I believe he was there 14 years before he came over to Columbia. He's just a good dude, good people to be around. And the people at Shirley's, I'm actually going to go there again here in just a little bit and eat. Everybody was nice. It's great to see people be happy in their community, support the school. Every place I went, Lake City, Columbia shirts, anything. It could have been a gas station, everywhere you go. That's what high school football and community support for a high school in general should be. There were people there that were just supportive of the band. They've got a big band. It's a big deal. Football in this state is unbelievable. But the commitment to it by each community is here and there. It's all over the place. Vero Beach, Niceville, there's certain places that they really get behind it. Lake City, Columbia, they could have even more fans at games, I'm sure. But just in general around the town, it's pretty darn good. Finally, I'm looking forward to see what both of these teams do later this year. But I'm going to have another article up on Inside the Knights, Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated about this. And it's going to have photographs. It's going to have information about all the different things around the area. I'll have it up tomorrow. It's going to be a longer piece, but I really enjoy those kind of things. And I think these communities need to have more guys coming out, more gals coming out talking about it. It's not just prospects. Yeah, we all love football and football recruiting, but you have to have a starting point. And what gets them there is the community involvement. So with that, Brian Smith signing off for the daily podcast I'm going to be doing pretty much every day, Monday through Friday for sure. And on the weekends, are probably more recruiting centric, the daily night. Everybody have a safe day. Be blessed. Thank you very much.